Hey everyone, what's my story today? Today I'm going to talk about gratitude. And I think I'm going to have a lot of videos where gratitude is going to be a reoccurring theme because it's such a great thing to have. And I'll go into some details as to what I'm talking about. So I was thinking about my parents today. I was talking to my wife Viva and we were just talking about our parents and how we grew up. And so I want to just touch on mine. And so I'm one of five. I'm the youngest of five kids. And my mom grew up in New Zealand of all places, and that's where she was born. She came to Canada probably at the age of 20 or so. And so she was born in the 1940s, and actually 1940. And my dad was born in 1933 in Hong Kong in China, and he lived his childhood both in Hong Kong and China. And neither of them really came from a lot of money. They had, it was always scarcity at the time when they were young. My mom's one of nine kids, and she's actually the youngest of nine. So that being said, there wasn't much to go around. You're part of the circumstances of, living in a huge family at a time where your parents are also struggling and trying to get by. And so what I wanted to talk about was the gratitude because, they came from that sort of environment, but when they, grew up and they came to Canada, you take certain aspects of your environment when you're young and you develop certain things. Like a lot of people who grow up in poor environments, they have a scarcity mindset. There's never enough money. They don't like to spend money because, there wasn't much going around. They remember what it feels like to struggle. And so if you don't have a lot, you're obviously going to be very, very tight and worry about, where your money's going and everything else. But one thing I have to say that I'm so grateful for is that, even though my parents came from that environment, and yes, we didn't have tons growing up. I mean, I wouldn't say we were poor, but we also weren't wealthy in terms of money. We were wealthy in terms of love and connection, but we weren't wealthy in terms of love. In terms of money. And so my parents still, and I look at these memories when I was younger with great memories and great gratitude that we went on vacations. They were able to take us on vacation. My other siblings and so I'm 9 years younger than the next youngest sibling in my family. So there was four kids that were all kind of within 2 years of each other. And then there's a 9-year gap, and then my parents had me. So some people might say I'm a mistake. And sometimes my siblings would say that, yeah, you were the accident. So sorry, not mistake. I mean the accident of the family. But I don't take it personally, and I love being the youngest. And that's another part I want to speak of, is that being the youngest, my parents would take me places. My older siblings, I was lucky enough that they still, they wanted to hang out with me and take me places. So they would take me to, my brother, for instance, would take me with him to the motorcycle track, as he used to ride those little YSR 50s, and he used to race around the track with those. Or he used to take me on the back of his motorcycle when I was in elementary school. I was the only kid who had an older brother or anybody that I remember that had a motorcycle and was lucky enough to go on the back of it. So I'm super grateful for that. My sister Michelle, the oldest one, I have these fond memories of her taking me to this little spot in Toronto. I don't know if you remember it. If you grew up in the 80s or the 90s even, you might remember it. It was called Just Desserts, and it was on Davenport. And my sister used to take me there in the evenings, and it was always such a treat. Like, we're going to Just Desserts? Awesome. And you could just buy cakes there, like even like slices of cakes. Usually that's what we got, cakes or pies, just like a slice. And it was just a huge deal for me. I mean, I don't know how much of a deal it was for her, but I still remember going to those, going out for those evenings and having that time. And just, yeah, like there was a lot of awesome memories as a kid, and just grateful that I got to participate in it, and that I had a family that took me places, and we didn't, like I said, going back to, how we grew up and, not having tons, but we still made it work, and we still had those great memories, and my parents still wanted to give us things that, they didn't have when they were younger. And so being a parent now myself of two, I can't imagine, thinking back, I can't imagine how my mom's family would have 9 kids. Like that's, oh my God, that is nuts. Even with 2 kids, sometimes it feels like a lot, but oh my God, for 9, like to have 9 of them is just, it's wild to think about. But yeah, going back about being a parent now, I think it's so important to try to give your kids not everything. I'm not an advocate of giving them everything and basically plowing the road for them and not allowing them to have any sort of adversity, because I think adversity is super important to develop character and skills that your kids are going to need later that are actually going to help them. I think by giving them everything, you're actually hurting them. And so, yeah, I think just these core memories of what you're doing what you do with your kids and the time you spend with them. It's not necessarily about the money. It's about the time and the connection. It's something that you can't put a price on that, and they'll never forget it. They'll never forget these memories. Just like I never forget the places that we went with my parents or my siblings. And it could just be something simple, like I said, going to a dessert place for a couple hours a night. Once every so often, every couple of months even. It was just a big deal. Anyhow, gratitude, very, very important thing. I love you all. And please, I want to hear your story. Message me in the comments, and if you want to share your story, I've been more than happy to listen. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, guys.